Continuing with quick hits here on the basketball soapbox, I started off in the Eastern Conference with the Brooklyn Nets and Milwaukee Bucks. Now we move over to the Western Conference with the Los Angeles Lakers, and let's get into it. They with us. That's what Stephen A. Smith has been screaming all week in terms of what other teams are saying to the Los Angeles Lakers when they play them. Um, this team can't shoot a rock in the ocean. A penny in the ocean hit the side of a barn with a rocket launcher. It looks grim. It looks bad. They're shooting 23% on the season. I'll go through their shooting percentage as a team here. Matt Ryan's at 50% at three attempts. Austin Reeves is at 46% from three. Troy Brown Jr. is at 36%. Then there's a bigger drop off. LeBron James is shooting 24% from three. Kendrick Nunn at 23%. Anthony Davis at 18%. Patrick Beverly at 17%. Lonnie Walker at 14%. Juan Toscano Anderson and Russell Westbrook at 12% a game. This team flat out can't shoot. And when you can't shoot in the modern NBA, that's doomed for disaster. And despite this team being actually good defensively on that side of the ball with their athletes and guys that can defend, the separation this season so far has been the three-point shooting. Yes, the Lakers do attempt a lot. Do they make a lot? Hells no. They're terrible at shooting the ball. They get them up because that's their only hope to stay in games. And you could probably power your way to a couple of wins that way, not shooting a lot of threes. The Spurs did that a couple of years ago with DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge, where they kind of reverted back to the old way of playing basketball, not shooting a lot of threes. But in today's NBA, where the game is faster, it picks up, you're going to need some shooting at some point, even if it's an average shooter, a capable shooter. They don't really have that on this team. Anthony Davis hasn't been a good shooter or mid-range shooter since the bubble. All his points come in the paint. LeBron James is putting up nearly 8 a game. He's been doing that the past couple of seasons. He's never been a great shooter. He's been a great shooter like in Miami, where I think he was close to 40%, if not at 40% in Miami that MVP season in 2013, I believe. Just looking at this team constructed, they don't have shooting. They don't have spacing. When all your guys are getting doubled in the paint on drives, on pick and rolls, and you're kicking it out to people that they're purposely leaving open. Like Yusuf Nurkic left Anthony Davis in that game in the corner and just turned around and left him there and said, hey, we'll live with the result if Anthony Davis is shooting corner threes for you guys. And predictably, Anthony Davis missed it. It's very tough in this league to win without shooting, especially when you have these guys that are that dynamic, that command the attention of the defense, and you're passing out to guys that can't shoot. Even your star players can't shoot. So to have that currently constructed there, people are blaming Russell Westbrook, blaming LeBron, blaming Anthony Davis. And I understand that from the accountability standpoint, as those are the leaders of the team. But roster-wise, you had to know this team needed shooting in the offseason. And to not address that on any level whatsoever, they try to bring in Matt Ryan, who was working odd jobs before the start of the season, before last year and stuff like that. You really don't have any shooting on this team. And to think that you're going to enter the NBA season in this day and age without shooting on your team, you're in for a rude awakening. And that's why the Lakers are off to an 0-5 start. If you look over the course of their games, the difference in the games are really the three-point shooting. I think the Warriors had about nine more points and a couple more threes than them made. Anthony Edwards was able to get a couple threes late in the game against them on the other night. The difference in these games, despite their great defense, which has been a calling card for them so far to start the season, for them not able to not have the ability to shoot is really hampering this team, and you can't get any lead weight. Like their offense is so putrid because they can't shoot. They're last in the league in offense. Like that is crazy to think about that with a team with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, let alone Russell Westbrook on this team. All these guys have been high 20-point per game scorers, and to see this offense just be dragged through the mud because they can't shoot is crazy. And that brings us to the next options here with the Los Angeles Lakers. Russell Westbrook and these draft picks. There's been a deal on the table that Russell Westbrook to the Indiana Pacers for Miles Turner and Buddy Hield. And recently, Buddy Hield and Miles Turner had a big game, kind of like an addition to LA, based on the Indiana Pacers play in that game and them having great games. I think they both had 20 points per game. Buddy Hield knocked down some threes. Miles Turner had great blocks. And to me, that seems to be the perfect situation for the Lakers there with Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. People are kind of downplaying them a little bit. But Buddy Hield added to your team, you're gonna get a boost of shooting, a boost of scoring, a competent scorer in this league so far. He's been a competent scorer off the bench as a starter, various other roles to get 20 points a game, efficient shooting from three. Miles Turner has been the stretch adding to his game with the three-point shot. He's going to be able to play the five next to Anthony Davis with shot blocking. So you have something there with your defense. You're not going to lose anything on the front line of your defense with Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and Miles Turner. I think that works. What has been the hesitation in this deal has been the Lakers trying to include both 27 and 29 draft picks into that deal. And I understand from a standpoint where you don't want to give those assets into the future. You don't know what you're going to do. You don't know what you're going to be by that time. You don't know what this roster is going to look at that time. And I understand the uncertainty, but if you're the Los Angeles Lakers with LeBron James in his last couple of years here, you should be pushing all your chips into the table. If you really want to get rid of Russell Westbrook and really try to turn this season around or have anything to look forward to, or even another trade chip, whatever the case may be with this team, I think you have to include those picks. Who knows what you're going to be in 5 years? That's 5 years away. 5 years away. Let's think about that. 5 years away. The Lakers can't rebuild and retool by then. Who knows? But it's just like, what are you guys doing as a franchise behind LeBron James and Anthony Davis, knowing that this team was built, the championship team, even though it was the bubble, whatever the case may be, you need defense, which they have, but they don't have the three-point shooting. So you have Anthony Davis, LeBron James, two guys that are getting 25 plus a night, adding it to the stat sheet, and you don't have shooting. You know how much that makes their job harder? And yes, I am a Celtics fan, and I love to see the Lakers struggle. But just from a concept of pure basketball enjoyment, the Lakers are terrible to watch. They are terrible to watch. Their offense is terrible. They are terrible. Like, I can't factor that in enough. So for the Lakers to sit there and not really want to include both those draft picks, it's really it's hindering the season for the Los Angeles Lakers, where you have LeBron James extended for a couple more years, where you have Anthony Davis there, he's on contract. Russell Westbrook's on an expiring deal. You figure that, hey, we can get off of this and try to recoup some value on this season and see if they can improve. Their defense is good enough. Their offense is just putrid. And it seems like that's a trade there that can work. But that brings me to LeBron James' impact on the season, where he's averaging 25 points, I believe nearly 9 rebounds a game, 7 assists, 8 assists, whatever the case may be. He is still playing at a high level. The difference is that he can't carry the team at this stage of his career, at 37 years old, going on verge of 38 years old. He cannot carry the team at this age. Very few people can. Kareem couldn't. I think Kareem won Finals MVP at 37 against the Celtics in 87? Was that the 87 Finals? But very few guys can do that. Karl Malone did that in the 90s at a much slower pace. The game is too fast. There's too many possessions in terms of three-point shooting to think that LeBron James is going to be able to carry. Now, they're going to be playing a slow pace of game, which fits his style, plotting, getting everything ready, setting up with shooters, driving to, very methodical, but it works. But when you don't have shooting around him, it minimizes his impact. He can't drive a team throughout 48 minutes of the game, 40 minutes of the game, and get the win at this stage of his career. That's just not going to happen. So to see him putting up these performances, trying to figure this out over the course of the season, the Lakers have to figure that, hey, we got LeBron here. He can't keep doing this. And I understand that's a very big hindrance on my next point, what I'm going to get into. But at this stage of LeBron's career, he cannot do that. It's very tough for anybody at this stage in their career to do that. Year 20, to lead a team night in, night out, without the personnel to get it done. That's just not going to happen. And he's still playing at a high level, but to get it done now is just ridiculous at this point. And that brings me to my last point, the reliability of Anthony Davis. He's already missed a game due to a back injury. That was a nasty fall. I understand that. But to be a lead guy, one, you have to be available. Anthony Davis has struggled to be available over the past couple of seasons. I think the most games he played was in 2017-18 season, his second to last season in New Orleans, where he played 75 games. That's the most games he's played in his career. Starting the season, that's right around where the Lakers need him to be to have any hope of being effective in the Western Conference. And that's just to make the play-in playoffs, the lower seeded playoffs. And for him to be in LA and play the most he's played was 62 games in his bubble season. The past 2 seasons, he has played 76 games, 80 games over 3 seasons. That's not going to get it done. And he's getting 24 points a game, 10 rebounds, nearly 2.5 blocks, nearly 3 steals this season early on. That's going to be right around where Anthony Davis is, but he has to improve his shooting and he has to be available. And that's always going to be a question mark for this team going forward and maybe down the line with Anthony Davis. And Jay Williams and Stephen A. Smith said, hey, trade everybody, basically. Try to recoup something in this failed season so far. They're 0-5. It's very difficult in this Western Conference. Portland's good. Utah's playing well. Houston's going to be tough out some nights. They're going to be feisty. OKC is going to be feisty. Sacramento, who's going to be battling for a play-in spot. You got the Clippers, the Warriors, Memphis, Dallas, Denver, Phoenix. Like, all these teams in the Western Conference are going to give you trouble. And if Anthony Davis can't be the number one guy on this team and not be available, that's very tough for anybody to win. If you have a guy like Anthony Davis who's that dynamic as a player on both ends of the floor and he's not available, it's very hard to win in the league without shooting and without your stars available. And that's the curious case of the Lakers here. They're just going to be a struggle until they figure that out. But Jay Williams and Stephen A. Smith said trade everybody. And I kind of understand it from that standpoint, where if that was the case, if you were going to move in that direction where you're looking to the offseason to reload and rebuild, people will trade for Anthony Davis. I think he has 2 years left on his deal with a player option. LeBron James, same thing. You're going to get value for those guys. If you want to just let Russell Westbrook's expiring contract go off, that's fine too. That's another option that nobody's ever thinking about. But I know they don't. They're the Los Angeles Lakers, and they don't want to look like they are taking a step back and looking like crap. But you guys look like crap with stars and with an inept roster. And if you're looking at this and thinking, hey, we can try to turn this around, I don't see it. Whoever you bring in, if it's through a trade with Anthony Davis, I think a trade with Russell Westbrook, like I discussed earlier with Miles Turner and Buddy Hield, that could potentially make things better. But right now, currently constructed, the Los Angeles Lakers are going nowhere. And nowhere fast. Like, I don't see it getting any better this season unless they trade Russ and give up those draft picks, which management has been hesitant to do because of the uncertainty. They know LeBron's not going to be around by that time. But if you're trying to win and try to turn things around this year, you got to get off those picks. Anthony Davis has to be healthy, and you have to bring some type of shooting to this team.